Very good afternoon to you. You're just in time for lunchtime news here on KBC Channel 1. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now we shall be giving you a detailed bulletin. The United Nations Habitat Conference is ongoing at UN in Gigiri. We shall be joining our reporter Yusuf Farah a little bit later, but first we want to start with matters education, where boarding schools management in Kiambu County are calling on the Ministry of Education to put in place proper mechanisms to guide disbursement of the development kitty to ease the struggle of feeding learners in schools. Githiga Boys High School Board of Management Chairperson Eva Wangoi Murira said they are facing challenges of feeding students due to scarcity of basic commodities such as maize and beans due to effects of drought. They are now calling the government to engage National Cereals and Produce Board to supply cereals in all schools countrywide at a standardized cost to cushion them from the high cost of food prices.
Lakini kauliza wamefurahi. Kwa hivyo tutie bidii, if you want to be a good leader, mtie bidii kwenye masomo yenu. Kwa hivyo mkiniona hapa vijana mnajua pia mimi ni mama yenu, si ndio?
Also the commodities have also increased in pricing, but those are challenges that is being faced by every school and trying to moderate them internally as a board.
Government should have the standard to standardize the commodity of the school, especially in the school, particularly the school prices.
Now, operations at Nzoia County Assembly were temporarily brought to a standstill as former staff staged a demonstration over unpaid gratuity. The former employees are accusing the county leadership of a scheme to swindle them from their gratuity payments for the period they served in the county government. They were for the county assembly leadership to pay them peanuts money, while former members of the county assembly received their full amount. They have vowed to continue with the protests until they are paid their dues amid threats to seek legal redress.
Ya miaka mitano, mbona nyinyi mnatuambia miaka 2.5? Akasema hivyo ndio ilivyo kwa sababu sheria ilianza kutekelezwa gratuity wakati sisi tumekaa ofisini. Sisi tukanyamaza, tukakubali tupe pesa zetu kwa kuwa hii ni jasho yetu na sisi tulifanya kazi. Hakuna gratitude leo wanakuja kukulipa hapa kama mkate. Sasa hapa ni kwa mnyapara, kwa mzungu, atu-sign ndio upewe. Sisi pesa zetu, mshahara yetu tulikuwa tunachukua kwa account. Sisi nataka pesa zetu tuwekee kwa account zetu. Sisi hatuna maneno mengine, na kama hivi wasipofanya hivyo hii mwezi, sisi tunataka kuchukua hatua, tutachukua lawyer, tutaenda kotini.
Tuko tunawekewa gratuity kwa account. Baadaye tukaitwa West Side na speaker na deputy wakatuambia after 2 weeks tutapewa pesa. Hatujawahi ona pesa hadi siku ya leo ndio wametuambia wanatupatia shilingi 10,000. Shilingi 10,000 na nunua pambas ya mtoto ama itaweza kununua. Itaweza kununua mbolea.
Ava Musyimi-led Presidential Task Force on the review of the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organizations is formally calling on Kenyans to give their views during a public participation exercise set to begin next week, Tuesday. In a detailed schedule, the task force will conduct county-based citizen engagement meetings as well as receive hand-delivered or online submissions. Our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim has details of the task force's entry from the 13th of June to 8th of August 2023.
As the third phase of exhumation exercise begins in Shakahola, Kilifi County this afternoon, the Presidential Task Force on the review of the legal and regulatory framework governing religious organization, appointed on the 5th of May, has announced it will begin its public hearings in the coast region, starting with Kilifi from Tuesday next week and wind up its hearing on the 8th of August in Nairobi County. In a notice published in the local dailies calling for public participation, the task force says it will hold county-based citizen engagements meetings from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the weekdays for the next 1.5 months across the 47 counties. Additionally, Kenyans can submit their views via an email address available on the website or hand-deliver submissions to the offices at the Kenya International Convention Center KICC in Nairobi. The task force, which will be operational for the next 6 months, is expected to formulate proposals on legal, institutional and governance changes needed to prevent religious extremism, cults and sects from perpetrating or promoting acts that are detrimental to the national values. The 17-member panel will also formulate proposals for civic education and additions to school curriculum, sensitizing Kenyans on the dangers of religious extremism. Abdiaziz Hashim for Lunchtime News.
The National Assembly is set to resume from the long recess on Tuesday to a busy fourth session of the 13th Parliament. Top of the agenda will be the consideration of the 2023-2024 budget, as well as the second reading of the Finance Bill 2023 that has seen members divided over the proposals in the bill. The opposition has since threatened to disrupt the reading of the budget set for June 15th over lack of government goodwill in the now suspended bipartisan talks.
The National Assembly is set to resume its sessions at Parliament on Tuesday afternoon with a full entry of legislative business for consideration. Top of the agenda is the second reading of the controversial Finance Bill 2023 that has the House divided right in the middle.
The Finance Bill cannot possibly just pass as it is. There has to be some amendments that have to be made so that, one, they're in line with the Constitution, and two, the views of the various stakeholders that are actually even told us ideas of how we can generate more income are actually incorporated in the bill.
As the President rallies his troop to vote in favor of the bill that will tomorrow enter the second reading, Azimio la Umoja wants members of Parliament, irrespective of their political inclinations, to shoot down the bill that has elicited debate nationally, with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, set to make communications to the House, among them the reading of the 2023-2024 financial budget, slated for June 15th. The opposition, led by its minority in the National Assembly, Opiyo Wandayi, has threatened to paralyze the process over the fate of the bipartisan talks, which is now in limbo.
Mswada huu unazidi kugandamiza wananchi wa Kenya. Unazidi kugandamiza wale wanalipa ushuru katika nchi yetu ya Kenya.
Wabunge msimame na Wakenya. Wabunge simameni na Wakenya, usiangalie chama kilichokuchagua. Wananchi ndio watadetermine, kwa sababu Kenya kwanza, Azimio, wananchi wote kule chini wote wanaumia.
Before the indefinite suspension of the talks, the co-chairs had written to the speakers of the bicameral parliament seeking recognition and facilitation. The Senate, which had gone on a 2-week recess, resumed its sittings on the 22nd of May. For Lunchtime News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Now, matters housing, urban climate action as well as urban crises are part of the discussions that will be happening at the United Nations Habitat Assembly. It has started today. It is set to run until the end of this week on Friday. Our reporter Yusuf Farah is following up on that particular assembly and is joining us now live. Farah, what is the latest?
A very good afternoon to you there, Betty Kiptum, back at the broadcasting house. We're coming to you live from the United Nations headquarters in Gigiri, where the UN Habitat Second Assembly is sitting for a week-long session where they will be discussing matters housing, climate change and action policies. The theme for this year's sitting, which is the second one, the first one happened in the year 2019, is the sustainable urban future through inclusive and effective multilateralism, achieving the sustainable development goals in times of global crisis. And of course, this is in line with the SDGs, particularly SDG 11, which focuses on universal access to adequate housing and urban climate action and environment protection. The UN Habitat Assembly Executive Director Maimouna Maud Sharif, in her speech, spoke about the need to uplift people from poverty, but at the same time be aware of the rural-urban migration, which is coming on a fast rate, not just here in Kenya, but also globally and especially in the member states, which is 193 of the UN Habitat Assembly. So being aware of the situation of the rural-urban migration, but also in forming policies that will make sure that we don't have cases of the urban poor. Of course, the situation is already there, but governments are being called on, or rather the member states of UN Habitat Assembly are being called upon to implement practical policies that will uplift the poor in the urban, but at the same time make sure the urban life is not disrupted. Of course, also present here are heads of state, and we had the Vice President of Botswana speaking about the need for the member states to collaborate on practical actions to make sure that the resolutions reached here are not just resolutions that will be spoken about on paper and then not be implemented. Of course, the head of state, President Dr. William Ruto, was the one who opened the assembly, and in his speech he said the one big barrier that is an impediment to achieving the urban housing agenda is the financing bit. So he spoke about the dialogue being centered on adequate financing to make sure that this dream is achieved. But the clarion call remains to be not just meeting here between today and Friday to discuss matters and end it at that, but meeting, discussing and implementing to make sure that the Vision 2030 of urban housing is reached and the urban poor will be a thing of the past. Of course, there are other things that are being talked about on the side. We had the issue about climate change, which my colleague Jael will be speaking about in other stories, and there's an expo that is happening here as well. We have my colleague Trevor who will be bringing that story. But that's the much we have for you here at the Gigiri headquarters. Back to you, Betty Kiptum in studio.
Thank you very much, Yusuf Farah. They're coming to us live from the UN in Gigiri, and he is, as well as the rest of the team, they're covering the United Nations Habitat Assembly set to run from today until Friday this week to discuss quite a number of issues, including housing and how to ensure that people who are migrating from the rural regions are coming to get adequate and decent housing. Of course, those reports will be filed in our subsequent bulletins. We now move on to other news. Residents of Dabel Division in Moyale, Marsabit County, have urged the Kenyan government to expedite the closure of gold mines in the area due to the serious danger posed by the ongoing mining activities in the region. Speaking in Dabel, Sakuye community spokesperson Hassan Tepo said that at least 50 kilograms of gold mined from Ilo, Rabala and Ote mine wells daily ended up being smuggled to illegal migrants and foreigners to Dubai through the neighboring country of Ethiopia. An area elder, Ibrahim Adan, saying illegal mining posed serious national security risks to Kenya due to the proliferation of illegal firearms from the neighboring country.
Hiyo usalama wetu inaendelea kuzoroteka. Kwa sababu gani? Kuna illegal mining hainaendelea hapa hilo. Hii illegal mining, wale watu wako hapa hawajaingia na ruhusa ya hata mtu mmoja hapa. Hakuna mtu anatupitia. Wale watu wako hapa, idadi ni kubwa kushinda sisi.
Hilo gold mine, Rabale gold mine, Ote mine, hiyo resource community wamekaa iwaki hawahusishwi. Hakuna kitu community hapa wana benefit. Maskini tunakaa hapa. Community our benefit, the county government our benefit, the national government our benefit.
Saa hii ni machine mpaka maikuri maji, maikuri sinisumu, maikuri inaendelea kusaga pa mawe na maikuri makamsini sumu yake toki ni kumaliza sisi. Maikuri ya kusaga mawe iko naendelea hapa. Angalia hiyo shida ni danger kwa maisha yetu. Hiyo maji sasa mvua kinyesha ikitoka hapa naenda kuingia Saranga, hata mahali hiyo maikuri inapita mchanga mwenyewe unasagika ni sumu makamsini toki. Kusaa mtoto ni shida.
And vulnerable residents of Malkadaka village in Isiolo County have benefited from a restocking program courtesy of the Building Drought Resilience in Isiolo County, DRIC, to help them get back on their feet. This comes after the recent prolonged drought wiped out their livestock, which was their major source of livelihood. Isiolo Governor Abdi Ibrahim Guyo who presided over the handing over ceremony, said that the county government will also put in 200 million shillings in the upcoming budget to roll out a similar restocking program.
Kama county government tutaweka milioni 200 ya kusaidia restocking kwa sababu wananchi wetu wameumia sana. Pia tutasukuma serikali kuu iweze kutusaidia. Tuhakikishe watu wetu wameweza kurudisha maisha yao ile ya kawaida kwa sababu wameathirika na hii kiangazi. Kiangazi ilikuwa mzito sana, imeua wanyama wote. Lakini tunataka kushirikiana pamoja na serikali kuu pamoja na development partners tuhakikishe hii watu wameweza kurudi katika hali yao ile ya kawaida.
Ile kitu inabakia sisi ni dume peke yake. Na amepata kike 20 na nashukuru hawa zaidi.
Twenty people have been arrested and 51 illegal gambling machines confiscated by the police in Ruiru, Kiambu County. This follows a crackdown that was led by the Area Deputy County Commissioner Margaret Mbogwa and the security agencies.
Speaking before setting the machines on fire, Kiambu Deputy County Commissioner Margaret Mbugwa called on the residents to cooperate with the security agencies to help fight illegal gambling that has affected most youths.
Kwa hivyo tunaonya vijana mfanye mahesabu yenu sawa sawa. Hizi gaming machines kama vile watu wanasema zinatoka nje ya nchi, zingine zinatengenezewa hapa. Kwa hivyo sio zote zinatoka nje. Wana assemble hapa, wanafanya hiyo biashara hapa, hata wengine wanaziuza. Lakini hapa Ruiru tumetangaza hakuna gaming machines tutaruhusu.
Area residents welcomed the move, saying that it will help the youths use their earnings to improve their livelihoods.
Serikali imetusaidia kwa sababu kutoka Mjei pengine na 300 hivi lakini 200 unapeleka pale. Ni wengi watoto wetu wamepotelea, lakini tunataka serikali ende na hiyo mwito na tunawashukuru kwa sababu ya operation ya leo.
Shauri waachane na hiyo game sababu haina faida, badala yake ni hasara mtupu. So tumeshukuru kwa wale serikali na wale vijana ambao wamejitolea ili kutusaidia.
More than 450 liters of changa was also confiscated in the month-long operation.
To matters environmental conservation now. In a bid to combat the escalating effects of climate change, residents of Embu County have been challenged to conserve the environment by planting and nurturing trees. Speaking during a tree planting exercise at Nembure Primary School, Embu Women Representative Pamela Njokinjeru emphasized the importance of preserving the environment. She further expressed her commitment to empower teenage mothers by offering relevant courses upon completion of formal education.
Tushirikiane na president wetu, mkuu wetu ambaye ni kiongozi wetu katika taifa letu, President William Samoei Ruto, kwa sababu ifikapo 2032 we are supposed kuwa tumepanda 15 billion trees, na sasa mnaona Green Forest Alliance ambao wametusaidia na seeding sana, na tunawashukuru sana. I'm coming up with a big program across the 20 wards in Embu County whereby munipatia wasichana wa mama warudi shule, wasome, waweze kujimundu na waweze kuendelea mbele.
We want to plant and grow the trees. There is a difference between planting and growing. So if the students are going to be involved in tree planting, kila mmoja tafadhali labda achukue mti mmoja na make sure umekuwa kutoka hapo chini mpaka mwisho, so that we are able to tell how many trees we've been able to grow.
We are envisioning a world where people and nature exist in harmony. We are working well with our farmers, tea farmers, coffee farmers, and our forest dependent communities in conserving the ecosystem of Mount Kenya. So whenever you call upon us, we are willing and ready to support this noble task.
Now, over 500 pupils in Mwangani Primary School in Kilifi County are forced to study under dire conditions due to lack of proper infrastructure. Their mud-walled classrooms are on the verge of collapsing due to the ongoing rains. The school teachers and parents are now appealing to the national government to heed their calls and reconstruct the school.
Mud-walled classrooms feebly stand in Mwangani Primary School in Magarini constituency, Kilifi County. The walls that can barely hold host grade 1 to 6 pupils. The school was established in 2014 but has hardly seen any changes. Instead, things seem to have fallen apart since then. The pupils and teachers hoping that skies will not let down the rains and winds will hold due to a valid fear of the classrooms collapsing. Onesmus Abalone, the school head teacher, says they have been appealing to leaders, local companies and well-wishers for aid in order to have modern classrooms constructed.
Pia tumewahi kuomba misaada katika washikadau wengine, lakini la kusikitisha mpaka sasa bado hatujafanikiwa kupata msaada.
He points out that the school lacks a staff room and head teacher's office, forcing the lot to camp under the trees. The leaking roofs give way when it rains.
Tuko na madarasa ambayo kwamba ukiangalia ni ya udongo. Ukiangalia baadhi ya madarasa kule juu pia ni kama yanavuja. Madarasa manne yamevunjika truss na ukiangalia ni kama yanaanguka.
Lack of proper sanitation at the school is also a major challenge.
Vyoo vimefika mahali vimefanya cracks, vimefanya nyufa, na imefika mahali tumeona moja katika vyoo haviwezi kutumika tena kwa sababu vimefanya nyufa na vimeonyesha dalili ya kuanguka.
Two ECD classrooms constructed by Kilifi County government and 2 junior secondary school classrooms are the only functional permanent buildings in the institution. Parents and teachers are now calling on the government to remedy the situation. For Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
We hope the school gets the infrastructure it deserves. Now, leaders in Isebania Town, Kuria West Sub-County, Migori County are accusing the police of intimidation and clanism in the fight against crime and insecurity along the border town. This follows the arrest of a section of leaders on allegations of incitement to violence and chaos. The leaders want the area legislator to let the police conduct proper investigations. They have also vowed to march to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations offices in Migori to air their concerns.
Taji wanatupigia simu, wanatumana. Mimi Mosenda ama kiongozi yote ambao yuko hapa hatutakosa kwenda mbele ya sheria ili tuweze kusikia kwamba kuna mambo gani ambayo sheria inayo. Kwa hivyo na sisi tunasema ya kwamba ikiwa polisi wanatutaka, kesho saa 2 asubuhi tutakuwa kwa ofisi ya DCI wa kaunti hii.
Waacha wale majambazi washikwe kwa sababu wanajulikana, ndio tutaamini kweli serikali inafanya, kuliko profile wachache viongozi hapa nyumbani na kuwashika.
Tunataka kujua ni kina nani wameshikwa, wanaenda kotini lini.
Sisi tuko tayari kwa chochote kile, lakini tunachotaka ni amani.
Kwa hivyo tuko tayari kuandamana maandamano ya amani, yasiyo maandamano mabaya kama haya yalifanyika juzi hapa. Tufanye maandamano ya amani, na kesho tutaenda katika ofisi za wilaya kuomba kibali cha maandamano ya kuandamana kuhusu mbunge na vitaka kututumia.
A section of leaders from Kitui County have asked the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife, Penina Malonza, to act swiftly in curbing human-wildlife conflict occasioned by destruction of crops by elephants in Kitui. Speaking at the launch of Huduma Mashinani Initiative program, Kitui Women Representative Irene Kasalu and Mudha MCA Dominic Momisi demanded that the elephants be driven back to Tsavo National Park.
Watu wa wildlife wanajua ya kwamba watu wa Mudha wanataiseka na mambo ya ndovu. Na yeye ndiye amekalia hiyo ofisi. Namuuliza akiwa pale kwenye hako. Hatutaki watu wa Mudha wakisumbuliwa na hizo elephants.
Na sisi kama viongozi tunasema hivi. Na nataka nieleweke vizuri. Mimi kama kiongozi wa Mudha, kiongozi akiendelea kushirikiana na wale viongozi wengine, sitakaa chini kuona ile chakula ya watu wa Mudha wamepalilia, wamelima kwa gharama yote ikiharibiwa na wanyama, kwa sababu tunaambiwa wanyama ni wetu.
Imekuliwa na ndovu. Ndovu iko na muda wa karibu miezi miwili ikikula shamba yetu. Ndengu wamekula akamaliza, kunde wamekula akamaliza, na hatuna chochote kwa mashamba. Sisi tuko na shida ya kutosha. Ndovu wamekunywa maji yetu, mahali tulikuwa tunakunywa, imekunywa maji ikamaliza, na hivi sasa hatuna tarajio.
Remember, you can interact with us on Twitter. We are at KBC Channel 1. My personal Twitter handle is at Betty Kiptum. On Facebook, we are at KBC Channel 1 as well. Do tell us what you think about the bulletin. We'll share some of your views during this particular broadcast. We take a quick break. When we come back, more news.
Ili kupata sikiza tune hii ya kibeti, bonyeza *811*962#.
Haki umefanya vizuri sana kunipigia hii simu sasa. Nimekuwa na stress kutoka asubuhi kabisa. Na ni huyu mtu ambaye alikuwa anapatiana majina ya vitu. Kwani hakutufikiria sisi watu wa Eastern Ukambani? Ni nani alisema ati wife kwa Kiswahili ni mke? Na akasema ati handbaka. Hii inabebwa na mwanamke handbaka. Ati kwa Kiswahili ni kibeti. Huko kwetu mke ili kupata sikiza tune hiyo ya kibeti, bonyeza
*811*962#. *811*962#.
이제 정신이 들어요.
조금만 기다려주세요. 계셔야 할 곳으로 꼭 모실게요. 꼭.
오늘 같은 날까지 이렇게 있어야 하는 거예요?
요지에서 떠날 때까지 감시하라 그러잖아.
아, 이 양반 진짜 종교 위에 거대 인성이네. 형제네? 왜? 신부 때리는 지옥 가요. 그래요? 그럼 지옥으로 가볼까? 우리 신부님 어떻게 때려줄까? 합기도?
Vicario is the most perverse being I've ever known in my life, Pancho. He told her that she and Ruben were siblings.
I'm going to convince Oligario that that's another invention of yours to separate us.
Really?
And what will you do when my father starts confirming with all the people who are named here? He'll also think that these people want to separate you from him? Go away, Milena. Go away and leave my father alone, because I won this fight. Leave now, Milena.
His name resounds in this house, and it torments me. And I do not want my son to know that his father is a miserable drunkard who raped me.
Las bandidas.
Welcome back. You're watching Lunchtime News. Now, administrators in Nyahururu, Laikipia County have expressed concerns over packaging of chang'aa mixed with ethanol in branded liquor bottles disguised as standard alcohol and later sold in local bars and wines and spirits outlets. Meanwhile, police in Pangani, Nairobi have arrested a notorious robbery suspect and recovered a pistol with 12 rounds of ammunition.
Speaking in Shamanek Forest after a successful operation of destroying over 5,000 liters of Kangara, Maina Village Senior Chief Muraya Waithaka said they have destroyed the temporary distiller set up by the brewers.
Kila baada ya wiki mbili hivi tatu huwa tunapata pombe tunamwaga na tunajaribu sana kushirikiana na provincial administration ili tuweze kumalizana kabisa na hii pombe.
The operation was jointly conducted with the Kenya Forest Service. Muraya noted that the chang'aa is mixed with ethanol and repackaged and sold in licensed bars. However, they are restricted from conducting raids in bars as they fall under the jurisdiction of county governments.
Tumekuwa na hiyo challenge ya kupigana na hizo pombe. Most of the time wakati askari yangu wanaenda normal patrols, wanakuta jiko ya pombe, tunabomoa. Saa zingine tunakuwa na tip off kutoka labda kwa wachungaji.
He urged the county government and Kenya Bureau of Standards KBC to randomly test alcohol being sold in bars and especially in informal settlement areas.
Tunaenda kwa hiyo site, tunabomoa na tunaharibu hizo equipments zenye wanatumia kupika pombe. Challenge yenye tumekuwa naye ni kuwa tumekuwa surrounded na hizi settlement areas na slums.
Timothy Kipnoso for Lunchtime News.
Across borders now, Tanzania has declared the end of its first outbreak of Marburg, a deadly Ebola-like virus with a fatality rate of up to 88%. And at least 9 people have been killed in Senegal following clashes between police and protesters. More details in International News Roundup.
9 cases, including 6 deaths, were recorded in the outbreak, which was declared in March in the northwest Kagera region, with the last confirmed cases testing negative on April 19th. The outbreak has been declared as over after a mandatory countdown of 42 days. In other news, at least 9 people have been killed in Senegal after opposition leader Ousmane Sonko's supporters clashed with police in several cities. The popular leader was given a 2-year jail term for immoral behavior, a conviction his supporters believe will prevent him from contesting next year's presidential elections. Elsewhere in India, at least 280 people have been killed and 1,000 more injured in a clash involving 3 trains in India's eastern Odisha state. One passenger train was derailed onto the adjacent track and was struck by an incoming train, also hitting a nearby stationary freight train. A massive recovery operation is underway as hundreds of emergency workers search for the wreckage. The cause of the accident is not yet clear.
Time to get the latest in the world of business now. Sheep, goat and camel milk will now be recognized in Kenya's parliament if Kenya's parliament approved the Dairy Industry Bill 2023 that seeks to overhaul the subsector. The Kenya Dairy Board says the proposed law will also enhance quality and safety compliance of milk and milk products by setting out strict hygiene standards for milk processors in the country.
Despite Kenya having one of the most developed dairy subsectors in Africa, the growth of the industry has been hampered by outmoded regulations. The dairy subsector is estimated at 14% of agricultural GDP, while per capita milk consumption stands at 110 liters, the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. The sector is expected to register more growth going forward once camel, sheep and goat milk is recognized by law.
We need to grow and rally
oil farmers to be able to produce more. And of course, the most important thing is to produce quality milk. How are we handling milk from the farm level to the consumer?
Kenya Dairy Managing Board Director Dr. Margaret Kibogi says the move will help the country realign its current regulations with global international standards for agricultural trade. Stakeholders say revising the current laws will help improve the productivity and competitiveness of dairy products, not just in Kenya, but in the region.
There was need to review the dairy bill so that it can match with the laws or the trends that have changed. For example, the new constitution, the Constitution 2020, the technological changes, all those aspects in terms of trade, and so that we can align it with issues that are current within the dairy sector.
The proposed bill also aims to boost farmers' profits by providing them with the proper milk handling technologies that will help in reduction of post-harvest losses, while at the same time addressing microbiological contamination of milk.
We've been able to really promote the aggregation, bulking and chilling through making sure we construct milk chilling and bulking facilities. Right now we've been able to do 11 of them across the county, and we've been able to equip with milk coolers through the county government kitty.
We have a lot of losses in the value chain, starting from production level, transportation, feed processing, and even handling of the product at the end of its production. So we are asking government and every player to optimize the resources in ensuring that we don't get losses along the value chain.
The proposed bill comes at a time when the government plans to drive industrialization through the Dairy Master Plan 2030. Nduta Mokami for Lunchtime News.
Sugarcane farmers in Kericho and other surrounding counties are set to benefit from a 3 billion shillings West Valley sugar mill situated at Kapkormom, Soin, Sigowet constituency. The mill will have a daily capacity of up to 2,500 tons of sugar, employing over 1,500 workers, with locals being given a priority.
That for the first time in history and after a very long time, because the last sugar factory we had was Soin Sugar. But now as a county, we have something to smile about because we are going to have our own sugar factory here in Kericho.
Tuko na mpango ya kufanya farm ama cane development na farmers small scale. So kitu ya kwanza ni mbolea, tutalete mbolea, tuandikiane, tuweke mikakati ya vile tunaweza kupatia farm inputs, tukupatie mbolea ndio tuweze kupanda miwa. Tuangalie kwa mwaka moja ile inakuja tutakuwa na miwa ambaye tumeiongeza ikuwe mingi iweze kurun email.
This establishment is worth about 3 billion shillings. The economy of this region will grow by another 6 billion shillings just by the presence of this factory. Okwe, pick up Sigowet constituency. Let's grow cane. Let's go to the farm. Let's supply this meal. Your lives will change fundamentally.
Further afield, the removal of a petrol subsidy in Nigeria has led to an increase in taxi fares, adding more pain to users of ride-hailing apps. The surge in petrol prices occasioned by the removal of subsidy is the latest headache facing millions of small businesses in Nigeria, a couple of months after a cash crisis caused economic activity to shrink for the first time in almost 3 years. Here are more details on this and other stories in African business news.
Many of Nigeria's 39.6 million micro and small businesses have been struggling to survive in recent years owing to the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war. Small business operators in Africa's biggest economy have been grappling with a combination of issues, including poor power supply, rising borrowing costs, and inflation. The recent petrol price hike is already taking its toll and threatening to keep many out of business. The price of petrol in Nigeria was raised to an average of 526.7 naira per litre from an average of 191.8 naira per litre. Meanwhile, online retailer Jumia seeks to expand its services into rural Uganda. Jumia says it will leverage its offline sales model known as JFOS to expand beyond Kampala into rural Uganda. According to Vinod Goel, the Jumia Chief Executive Officer, Uganda has a unique population distribution and demographics presents a significant opportunity for e-commerce growth. Finally, Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli received the Saudi Minister of Industry and Mineral Resources, Bandar Al-Korayev, and his accompanying delegation, where they discussed ways to enhance cooperation and integration between Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Egypt affirmed the durability and strength of the Egyptian-Saudi relations, noting that during this stage, great efforts are being made to strengthen these relations. Madbouli stressed the importance of integration between the two countries, pointing to the enormous potential and human resources that the two countries possess, adding that Egypt is a very large market and a gateway to the continent of Africa. Pauline Kihali for Lunchtime News.
Now, there's an international tax conference which was attended by KRA officials, of course, and other delegates from across the globe to talk matters tax. Regina Manyara attended that particular opening and filed the following report.
Kenya began collecting the digital service tax in 2021, targeting revenues earned by digital service providers, including US tech giants Google, Netflix, Meta, Twitter, and Microsoft. 2 years later, Kenya is the latest country to onboard onto the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development inclusive framework that seeks to address the tax challenges of the digital economy.
This is a crucial time to hold informed discussions on global tax governance, especially for developing countries who need to maximize the benefits of multilateral engagements on international tax.
The initiative targets fair distribution of profits and to allocate taxing rights to the countries with respect to the largest multinational enterprises. For implementation, Kenya is demanding for enhanced transparency and accountability through, among others, provision of data.
In addition, countries experience abuse of tax treaties due to inadequate beneficial ownership anti-provisions, at times leading to treaty shopping.
But also on the morality of tax systems and processes must therefore be stepped up.
The deal is expected to come into effect next year and has currently been consented to by 138 out of the 141 Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development inclusive framework countries and jurisdictions, with the exception of Nigeria, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka.
I encourage you to interrogate the thematic areas frankly and boldly, with a view to finding solutions that could inform tax policies for developing countries.
Regina Manyara reporting for Lunchtime News.
And oil prices were up $1 a barrel on Monday after top global exporter Saudi Arabia pledged to cut production by another 1 million barrels per day from July. The move by Saudi Arabia aims to counteract the macroeconomic challenges that have been weighing on the oil markets. West Texas Intermediate crude climbed $1.07 or 1.5% to $72.81 a barrel after touching an intraday high of $75.06 a barrel. Details of these and more in news from around the globe.
Saudi Arabia's decision to cut production comes in addition to the broader agreement made by OPEC countries, including Russia, to limit supply until 2024. The group currently accounts for approximately 40% of global crude oil production and has implemented cuts of 3.66 million barrels per day, equivalent to 3.6% of global demand. The unexpected reduction by Saudi Arabia, which will decrease its output to 9 million barrels per day in July, marks the largest cut the kingdom has made in years. Meanwhile, China's first domestically built cruise ship Adora Magic City is all set to take to the open seas from its dock in Shanghai next Tuesday after being put in the water for tests. The cruise ship, measuring 323.6 meters in length with gross tonnage of 135,500 tons, can accommodate up to 5,246 passengers and is expected to be fully delivered by the end of 2023. The 16-deck ship features theaters, restaurants, shopping areas, art galleries, water parks and other recreational facilities. The cruising routes for the ship will include ports in Japan and Southeast Asia, as well as along the maritime Silk Road. China has wrapped up to 2022 with a strong performance in the shipbuilding sector, retaining the largest share of the global market for the 13th straight year, with 6 companies ranking among the world's top 10 shipbuilding enterprises. Finally, a strong US economy is giving an expected boost to the dollar, frustrating bearish investors betting on its decline. The dollar is up to 2.5 from its recent low against a basket of currencies and stands near its highest level since March. The nascent rally has defied expectations from the currency to resume a decline from last year's multi-decade highs. Net futures bets against the dollar stood at $12.34 billion in the week to May 30th after hitting a 2-year low early in the month.
We take a quick break now. When we come back, the day's sports.
It is a way of celebrating people and their edginess through edutainment events.
Africa is starting to understand that we are actually a continent, and if we come together, then great things can really happen.
Mimi muziki yangu mingi sana naipenda, unajua. Lakini mimi muziki wangu all the time, yani ni my everything, it's my everything. It's a beautiful song.
His music frequently relates to social issues and spirituality.
Ya jamani, unajifungia tangu jana. Mwenzako nsharudi hata salamu.
Dad, you know if there's something wrong, you could just tell me.
Yes, baby girl. I'm fine.
Habari za kombi?
Hayuko madam.
Wasiwasi wa nini sasa? Naweza kuwa tajua ukweli tu. Ananipima akili.
I told you to stay away from this issue.
Pili is my best friend.
이제 정신이 들어요?
조금만 기다려주세요. 계셔야 할 곳으로 꼭 모실게요. 꼭.
오늘 같은 날까지 이렇게 있어야 하는 거예요?
요지에서 떠날 때까지 감시하라 그러잖아.
아, 이 양반 진짜 종교 위에 거대 인성이네. 형제님? 왜? 신부 때리는 지옥 가요. 그래요? 그럼 지옥으로 가볼까? 우리 신부님 어떻게 때려줄까? 합기도?
Thank you for staying with us here on Lunchtime News. Now let's get sporty. Serie A champions Napoli ended the season on a high after defeating Sampdoria 2-0 last night. Elsewhere, Atalanta and Roma both qualified for UEFA Europe League after victories over Monza and Spezia respectively.
Elsewhere,
A hat-trick by Koopmanias helped Atalanta crush 10-man Monza by 5-2 goals and secure a place in the next season's UEFA Europa League.
Sinistro da quasi metà campo dell'olandese che pesca Di Gregorio fuori dai pali, il pallone sotto la traversa.
Jose Mourinho's Roma also qualified in the Europa League after coming behind to defeat Spezia 2-1.
And does. Zoot went the right way.
Now, AC Milan's Zlatan Ibrahimovic has retired from football at the age of 41, bringing to an end one of the modern era's most glittering careers.
Zlatan Ibrahimovic scored 511 goals for clubs including Paris Saint-Germain, Manchester United and both AC and Inter Milan, winning league titles in 4 countries, and has now retired from football. Ibrahimovic began his second spell with AC Milan in early 2020, having won the Scudetto with them in 2011 and helped them win the title again last season. Ibrahimovic won 34 trophies, including 14 league titles, in a career that began in the last century, and was nominated by the Ballon d'Or 11 times. The one major club trophy that eluded him was the Champions League, with his only European title coming with Manchester United in the shape of the 2017 Europa League. The striker also retires as Sweden's all-time top scorer with 62 international goals in 122 matches. He quit the national side after Euro 2016 but returned in 2021 for the unsuccessful World Cup qualifying campaign.
As Ibra retires, of course, the memes that he has inspired will continue making many happy. We hope to see the champ in other venues. Now, Gabri Veiga scored twice as Celta Vigo beat champions Barcelona 2-1 to ensure a 12th straight season in La Liga. In another match, Real Valladolid were relegated after a 0-0 draw at home to Getafe.
Goal of the season in the 62nd minute. Meanwhile, Karim Benzema marked his final Real Madrid's appearance with a goal in the 72nd minute to equalize Sunset's opener in the 49th minute as they drew 1-1 in their last game of the season at home to Athletic Bilbao.
On that sporty note, we end lunchtime news here, but of course the conversation continues online at KBC Channel 1 on Twitter. At Betty Kiptum is my personal Twitter handle. Thank you very much for watching the lunchtime news here on KBC Channel 1. Be sure to catch our subsequent bulletins for more detailed news. Have yourself a lovely afternoon. My name is Betty Kiptum. Bye-bye.